For the second time in 4 years, the Buckeyes opening Big Ten play in the first week of the season, opening on the road and on a Thursday night. Tony Gerdeman from BuckeyesScoop.com joins us now. And Gerd, thanks for spending some time with us to talk about the Buckeyes.
Happy to be here. Looking forward to it. It's been a long time coming.
You got a shot of TCF Bank Stadium behind you. The last time Ohio State was there, it didn't look like that. That was the 2014 Dilly Bar game where they played in a blizzard. Weather's supposed to be much nicer Thursday night in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I'm glad when I saw the schedule and I knew we had to go to Minnesota. I was glad it was a September game, not a November game. Heck, not even an October game. Give me September all day long if I'm going to Minnesota. So I'm looking forward to it. Never been. So this will be maybe the last one off my my bucket list here in the Big Ten.
Let's talk a little about the matchup at quarterback as C.J. Stroud is the starter for Ohio State. Is C.J. Stroud going to play the entire game for the Buckeyes?
I guess that depends on what the score looks like in the fourth quarter. Being a Big Ten game, I would expect, unless something terrible happens and he gets yanked, I think he'll be the guy that goes the entire time. I think he's been out front from even last year, has only distanced himself, done everything they want, has become a leader with the team, with the offense. So I would expect him to be out there the entire time unless Ohio State's up by 3 or 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, in which case we'll get to see who is the leader in the clubhouse to be the backup, which is another serious and a huge question for the Buckeyes. But I think C.J. Stroud will do well. They probably won't ask him to do a whole lot. Remember, Justin Fields' first year, he didn't throw the ball more than 25 times the postseason. They'll be protecting him. They won't want to put him in any bad situations. If he does throw more than 25 times, either they're really confident or Ohio State's trailing.
Buckeyes have had an embarrassment of riches at quarterback for the last, decade now, basically. Of those former Ohio State quarterbacks, who is C.J. Stroud reminiscent of? It's not fair necessarily to compare him to any of those guys, but if you could say he's got something like this from Dwayne Haskins, something like this from Justin Fields, where would he fit in that timeline?
That's a really good question, and it may be a cop-out to say he's got some stuff from both of them because he's more athletic than people think. We saw that last year, against Michigan State, where he ran a 48-yard keeper. But the receivers, even the defensive backs, have raved about his ball placement, which is reminiscent to Dwayne Haskins, where Johnny Dixon one time referred to Dwayne Haskins football as like mama's dinner because it, is perfect, is right where you wanted it. It was just the one thing you needed. And so there's some of that with his accuracy. And then, of course, there's some athleticism. But, of course, Justin Fields may be the most accurate quarterback we've ever seen at Ohio State. So it's hard to compare anybody to him because he's the best I've ever seen wear a Buckeye uniform. But if you're a poor man's Justin Fields, you're still pretty darn good. And maybe that's where he starts out as a redshirt freshman.
Running back position is very interesting. You got Master Teague, but I think we all know what the ceiling is on Master Teague. He's a very serviceable back. He can get you the yardage, but he's not necessarily going to break the long ball. And perhaps we're going to have that now with Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson in the backfield along with Master Teague.
Yeah, and Master Teague is going to try to do that as well. We talked to him this camp, and he said he's working on his vision, working on his agility. Wasn't able to get as much of that done last year because of the pandemic, coming off the injury, but he has worked on just being a better in terms of the vision as a running back, because I think we all saw some things that he didn't see last year, frankly, in terms of the holes that he could have hit. Trey Sermon was able to find those. But then Mayan Williams, I know everybody's excited to see. We only got 10 carries of a glimpse last year, and he was really did something with all 10 of those carries to make you say, wow. And so now what happens if he's getting 12 carries a game? How many times are we going to be saying, wow? I am interested to see if he's a home run hitter or if he's just a 6 to 12 yard type of guy consistently, which is more than fine. But we do know Travion Henderson is a home run hitter, which is either crazy or foolish to say, given that he's never played in a college game before. But none of us have heard anything, and you know this. The words out of Columbus have only been high praise and high excitement for what Travion Henderson's going to do. I don't know that we'll have to wait too long to see what he can do.
Let's talk a little about the offensive line. It's a rejiggered offensive line from what we saw last year. Guys graduated, and I think a lot of people still have visions of the struggles Harry Miller had at center in that first quarter against Michigan State. Is that still a concern as he's penciled in to be the starter at center this season?
Okay, we got to see an entire practice. Harry Miller, there was no bad snaps. I think he recovered well in that game against Michigan State. I know that's Justin Fields should have been given a Gold Glove for the snaps he was fielding in that game, but it seems like that is a thing of the past. Now it's just him commanding the offense, being the apex of the offense, as Urban Meyer used to say of the position. It's going to be really interesting to see because you've got guys all along who are starting at new positions than they were last year. And this was coming in, it was expected to be one of the nation's best offensive lines. And then they change everything up. And so we'll see where it goes. But I think the expectations again are very high because these are talented guys who are also veterans at this point.
This is a very interesting Ohio State season. They're fourth-ranked team in the nation. They're the favorites to win the Big Ten for the fifth year in a row, yet they've had 20 guys drafted in the last 2 years of the NFL draft. At some point, the talent drain has to become a factor, but when you're continually bringing in 4- and 5-star guys, maybe it's not a factor. That's what we're going to learn in the next couple of weeks.
Well, I think it's a factor maybe positionally. We've seen that in the secondary where you lose too many guys and you can't catch up. Now, where else has that happened? We'll see. And can other positions keep up? You've seen Ohio State lose some defensive ends. Now they've refurbished or re-added with JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer as freshman. Zach Harrison is emerging as a leader, but other positions have to pick up the slack where things get a little light. But right now the recruiting is going so well. They really, really like this 2021 class. And you're seeing Jamison Williams transfers out because there's so many good receivers. And they're going to be relying on some of these young freshmen because it almost feels like they're no longer freshmen at this point. They're almost sophomores just by talent, their mental makeup, the ability to pick up the game so well. Being here since January has helped. So I think we've seen some teams along the way, Ohio State teams that have relied on some young guys. 2014 wins a national title because of a number of second-year guys. This year, they're going to rely on some first-year guys, and I think for the most part, they're okay with that.
Let's talk a little about the Minnesota Gophers to wrap this up. 2 years ago, they were a top 10 team in the nation. Last year, they struggled. A lot of those players from that 19 team are back on this 21 team. They're picked to be middle of the pack in the Big Ten West, but it's a dangerous Minnesota team, you'd say?
Yeah, and anytime you're going on the road in the Big Ten at night, redshirt freshman quarterback making his first career start, I don't think this is just something you walk into with. This isn't one of those roll your helmet type of games, as they say out there. I think you have to be serious, and this is an opportunity. Minnesota has had all off season to prepare for Ohio State. Ryan Day said this week that they know Minnesota is going to do some different things. They're going to break tendencies. Ohio State will do some different things. And we saw with Scott Frost coming out and saying in Nebraska, we didn't expect Illinois to come out in a 4-down lineman set, and that pretty much ruined half of our game plan. Like, there's all kinds of things can happen that first game where you think you've planned, but you haven't planned correctly, and there's no based off of. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out, how well they guess, how they're able to adapt then when they've guessed wrong. But this is a team, this Minnesota team, with veterans everywhere. Offensive line is returning, defense returning. Now the defense gave up a bunch of yards last year, but you would expect that to be better. And it's Big Ten, so it's going to be a one up front. This is the biggest offensive line Ohio State will see. This is the biggest offensive line that Minnesota will see, other than the one they see every day in practice. But you feel like the talent eventually will overcome the rest of the environment and whatever else Minnesota can do. I'm interested to see quarterback Tanner Morgan. That 2019 season, he had Rashad Bateman and another very talented receiver that allowed him to be maybe more than he is. But can he get back to that? Because we saw how he struggled last year when Rashad Bateman wasn't there. Sometimes he was. And is he a product receiver up his receivers and the rest of the offense? And Mohamed Ibrahim, the running back, is tremendous. This is going to be a really stiff test right out of the gate for the Buckeye defense.
Buckeyes and Gophers primetime on Thursday. Tony Gerdeman from BuckeyeScoop.com. Thank you for joining us. Have a safe trip up to the Twin Cities.
Thank you. See you there.